Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here today for another Wealthy Winning Wednesday. Woohoo! Who's excited and ready to get started? All righty. Welcome to our awesome topic, which is drive profits. Drive profits to the max, accelerate your real estate brokerage, and push the needle. Why don't you go ahead and let us know where you're joining us from today in the chat box. All righty. Go ahead and tell us what city you're joining us from, and a little bit about what you hope to learn today about driving profits to the max. Today we're going to talk all about when to step on the gas and when to slam on the brakes, and how to figure that out, how to put a strategy together for your business moving forward to make sure that you are profitable. All righty, let's keep going here. We're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome, brokers and aspiring brokers. You're here because you want your business to succeed. And success means helping people, making an impact in their lives, being a leader and influencing others. But most importantly, in a business, success is determined by profits, profitability. If we have no profits, then we really don't even have a business. We just have an expensive hobby that's costing us money. So our goal really and truly is to ensure that we are profitable and we can continue serving our community, continue making an impact, continue being that servant leader that influences others in a positive way. Welcome, brokers, and thank you for joining us here today. I hope that you start every day strong with your custom dashboard. Your dashboard tells you where your business is at right now, and perhaps it's doing well or not doing well, and you can see that reflected in your dashboard. Your dashboard will have different dials, not literally dials, but different metrics that measure your company's progress, that measure your action and results compared to the goals that you've set out for your company, and that really let you know, are you on the right track? Who has a dashboard? Let us know in the chat there. Welcome to MBA Broker Consultants, where we help you as a brokerage owner to get on track, move forward, and win the finish line with drive profits and driving profitability. It's not just about a chance for an opportunity. It's not really about just happening to make a profit or just doing the same thing that everybody's doing, but really and truly, it is about purposeful, intentional profitability, building your business the right way so that you can not just benefit now, but benefit later. Okay, Sandy, thanks for checking in. Yes, we are live. Hopefully you can hear everything. Let me know if not. Our Drive Profitability series has 8 modules, and today we're going to start with module 1. But the first module is SWOT analysis. We're going to learn all about what a SWOT is and how to strategize in your business to win. Next session or next module will be operational management, then planning for business and growth, next accounting and banking, financial statements, budgeting for capital, Zoom, as we call it, and you'll find out why when we get there, internal controls, and last but not least, financing and funding. So those are the 8 modules we're going to cover in depth. This will be a very in-depth look at your business from the bottom line of profitability and how to make sure that your company is around, not just now, but years in the future, and that you have a legacy, something really awesome that you can pass on because of the impact you've made. Now you'll see here, we have the Association of Accredited Small Business Consultants, AASBC. That is the logo, and I am certified with the AASBC as a small business consultant. Okay. And a lot of our material is going to come from AASBC today. A little bit about me. You probably already know me, but I did earn an MBA degree. A lot of my material that I take comes from those corporate Fortune 500 lessons that I've learned, as well as AASBC. So you're going to be getting solid, good advice that big companies follow. Prior to that, I earned a bachelor's degree in real estate with such classes as real estate appraisal, property management, real estate economics, legal aspects, and all those things. I earned my broker's license in 1988, and I'm the broker owner of a small boutique brokerage in California. But today's module is not about me or my brokerage. It really is all about one thing, and that is elevating the standards of professionalism in our real estate industry. You see, one thing I noticed when I became a brokerage owner and I opened my brokerage is that I really didn't have the business training or background to run a company like this. I had an AA degree in business and in real estate, but that was just the basics. It really didn't teach me how to go out and be competitive and be profitable and compete with all of these other brokerage owners in a field that's already crowded. So I wish that somebody would have been there to guide me and lead me and teach me all of these lessons instead of being a struggling mom and pop shop for years. And when I went back to college, I decided that would become my mission, is to help all of us collectively, especially us independent brokerage owners, because we're the ones that are out there on our own. We often don't have much. We don't have resources. We don't have a mentor we can call on. Let's face it, in our ultra competitive industry, there aren't many mentors because the brokerage owners that exist are often competing with each other, and they hesitate to share that information to make their, fellow brokerage owners more competitive. So there aren't many resources to turn to, and that was what helped me decide that this was the right direction to go, helping other brokerage owners and all of us succeed together. The Association of Accredited Small Business Consultants has awarded me a certificate as an accredited small business consultant in 2017, and many of my lessons today will be coming from the AASBC, as you'll see more as we go along today. So we have 3 parts to today's module. The first, to help us rev up, is the matrix, the SWOT matrix. And then we'll have a company assessment. That's where you take the matrix, you apply it to your company. And then lastly, take action. Get out there, make it happen. That's the most important part, because all this knowledge is great, but if you don't apply it, execute, take action, then it's sort of pointless, right? So 3 parts to today's session. We also do have a workbook. Well, actually, we have 2 I'm going to share it right now, okay? I have two things for you to share. So I'm going to go ahead and share the files. The first is SWOT examples. Okay, let me know in the chat bar if you can see the SWOT examples. The SWOT examples is about 3 pages, I believe. Let's see. Yes, 3 pages, and it says SWOT examples up at the top with our logo and the AASBC certification. Okay, awesome. And the second thing I'll be sharing with you, hopefully everybody got that, because now we have a second thing to share, which is our Module 1 worksheet. Okay, the Module 1 worksheet is a 1-page worksheet. That's what we're going to work on at the end, where we take each of these SWOT items, break them down, and put together a strategy for you and your business. All right, we're diving in. The Matrix. What is the Matrix? No, it's not the movie. The SWOT Matrix is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that's why we call it the SWOT. And no, it's not a SWAT guy from the FBI raid team. It's SWOT analysis is something that is constantly a work in progress. It's a deep dive in your business, really, really looking at what makes your business tick and figuring out what your strategy is going to be based on the factors that are already in place. Now, remember, your factors are not going to stay the same forever. Just like with life and your business, they will change over time. So it's good to keep doing those reassessments. Today, we're going to start simple. You can expand the analysis, and you can use it as a business guide to help you put together your business plan and to have a guidance and a direction to your company for the future. Now, remember, success does not depend on just one thing. It depends on multiple factors, and you really have to know what they are. You have to know them like the back of your hand, and we're going to explore that today. I'm going to go ahead and put up the I'm going to go ahead and put the SWOT examples back up here and share the file, because we'll be working through that first. So, what is a SWOT? What a SWOT does is it breaks down your business functions and features and characteristics down into 4 quadrants. I'm going to go ahead and do a little whiteboard here. Okay, so we have characteristics and things that are internal, right? So we'll just say those are internal. There we go, internal. And internally, that's if we're a small business owner, internal means just us, if we're a solo business owner. But if you have a team, when you start expanding, you're bringing on managers, you're bringing on admins, you're bringing on recruiters, you're having top agents that are going to be on your advisory board, you have mentors. So when you start bringing more people into your leadership team, then those internal advantages and drawbacks will reflect them as well. Now, once your business starts growing much bigger, say an example is you become a corporation, have maybe 100 agents. Once you get to that point, then your strengths and weaknesses will be more reflective of the company itself, because it takes on its own life and it's no longer just, me, the sole brokerage owner. Okay. So internally, you will have advantages, and those advantages are known as strengths. You'll also have drawbacks or disadvantages, and those are known as weaknesses. Now, if you have those same advantages and drawbacks externally, which means outside your company, things that you have no control over, the advantages, we call those opportunities, right? There we go. And the disadvantages are known as threats. I think we need to switch colors here, right? Okay, so there we go. They're known as threats. So that's where we get SWOT: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, some of you may have done a SWOT before for yourself or for a previous business. If so, that is awesome. You're already on the right track. And today we're going to look at this from a fresh, different perspective. So, what do you do with strengths? Those are your internal advantages. Well, you're going to leverage them. You're going to utilize your core competencies to gain an advantage in the marketplace. What do you do with your weaknesses? Well, your weaknesses are things that you're not too good at. You're going to either have to try to improve those, or if you can improve those, maybe ignore them and make them irrelevant. Or if there are things that are necessary and important, you'll have to outsource or delegate those. What about opportunities? What do you do with those? Well, of course, you want to capitalize on market opportunities to try to increase your profit, but before you jump out there, you need to calculate it out, write it out, figure out your return on investment, and make sure you're making a good business decision. It needs to make sense first. What do you do with threats? Those are those external bad things in the market that you can't control, and they're coming along anyway. So what do? You have to do one of two things: either reduce them or neutralize. Strengths. Let's first talk about strengths. Now, if you want to pull out your handout that I have up right now, the handout is called SWOT Examples. So let's talk about what a strength is. A strength is a resource or a capability, and it fulfills the firm's most important tasks. Think about the strengths that you have as a brokerage owner. When you open your company, perhaps you are a top seller at your real estate brokerage. So you are great at marketing. You're successful at transaction management, seeing the transaction all the way through to close. And you probably have built up a good book of business over the years. So those are the strengths that you bring to your company. What you want to do is you want to leverage those strengths to advance the company. Perhaps you have made a lot of good business connections. And if so, now what do you need? Now you don't need buyers and sellers. Now you need agents. And you're going to be able to connect with all those people in your sphere that you've built up a network for these years that you've been in business. Strengths are also internal resources, processes, or procedures the business does well. So as a successful agent on your own, you know how to go to a listing appointment. You know how to get the listing in hand and put a new listing on the market. So because of that, now you can teach that to your agents. You can have a workshop. You can have a seminar. You can meet with them one-on-one and mentor them. So those are things that you do well, and you can leverage those strengths. Strengths enhance your competitiveness in the marketplace. If you look at your competitors and you see, well, what strengths does company A have? Brokerage A, brokerage B, brokerage C. And then you look at yourself. Yes, I know it's hard to do, to take a look internally, inward, to find out what we do good and what we do poorly. But we need to start by looking at what our strengths are and how our strengths make us competitive in the marketplace compared to the strengths of our competitors. What strengths do they have as well? Strengths are also known as specialized skills or expertise, and these make your business highly competitive. One example might be REO. Maybe you're a brokerage that before you open your brokerage, you were a top selling REO agent, and you bring all of those specialized skills and expertise to your brokerage. And maybe you're thinking, well, it's not an REO marketplace right now. I don't know how that would help me. And you look around at all your competitors. Maybe you've been in the business, let's say 20 years, and you have a lot of experience dealing with a distressed market, short sales, the REO book of business, and all of those, the knowledge and the connections and the resources. And you bring that to your brokerage. And your competitors, you look around and they've only been in business for maybe 5 years. They haven't experienced the down market that you have. Well, now when the market turns again, you will shine because you have those skills, that expertise that makes you competitive. And your competitors, they don't know what to do because they haven't experienced a down market before. Okay, so that's an example of a strength. You can go ahead and type into the chat bar. Let us know of a strength that you have in your business. We'd like to hear from you. Strengths mean what? It's time to gun the engine. Woohoo! It's time to get ready and move forward. Now let's look at some examples of strengths. And these are just generic strengths for a business. Not for you personally, but for the business. So now we're thinking bigger outside of just us as individuals, right? One example might be a low-cost operation. Now, I did not say low-cost services to your clients. I said low-cost operation, which means internally your overhead is reduced. Perhaps if you look around, your competitors are spending $10,000 a month on lead generation, and you have figured out a way to offer lead generation services and offer leads to your agents and keep your business going with leads for half that cost or a quarter of that cost. Okay, so that would be an example of how you could have a low-cost operation. Advanced technological skills. So perhaps there are things that you're good at or that you and your team are good at that you've developed as a company that other competitors have not done, and you can highlight those. Another example is high-quality products or specialized services. Now, perhaps you as a brokerage owner, you have a construction division or a renovation part to your realty. Maybe it's a sister company. And when you have a seller who wants to sell, their house is a mess, you can have your renovation arm come in and fix it up for them and really make it appeal to new buyers. That could be something that is a specialized service that your competitors do not offer. Okay, I hope everybody's getting this. Please let me know if you have any questions. Now, if you look at your worksheet that is there, let's make sure it's still there. Okay, yes, in the file sharing, your worksheet is still there. You'll see some examples of strengths. So examples include specialized skills or expertise in niche areas, and we talked about that. Assets, equipment, and facilities, including your location and your capacity to grow. Are those strengths for you? What about your human capital? That's you, your leadership team, your agents, your staff. Do they have the depth and the quality of management and leadership experience that gets an advantage over your competitors? What about your intangible assets? Do you have a recession-proof business? I mentioned the market will eventually be changing. Are you ready for both the up and a down market? Is your business not relying so much on seasons? As we know, real estate, we have seasons. Spring is a great selling season. Winter is not. Have you been able to figure out how to leverage your skills and strengths to add additional revenue sources so that your business is more even throughout the year? Do you have a wider variety of products or services than your competitors? You might look at a competitor who only does residential sales, and you might decide to add in commercial leasing, commercial sales, right? What about internal and organizational assets? Do you have financial strength? Do you have capital backing you up? Do you have resources? What about strategic alliances with other businesses, right? We talked about sort of that chain, that supply chain. What about the mortgage companies that are referring business to you and you're referring your clients to? What about other services that your buyers and sellers need? And lastly, standard systems in place. This is lacking in many independent brokerage owners' place of business, and putting standard systems in place is a great way to automate your business and really bring those skills and strengths to the forefront that allow you to work on your business instead of in your business every day. Everybody enjoying our topic today? Drive profits. Okay, now let's look at your internal resources and capabilities. Tangible resources. Those are things like your capital and your equipment. Those are things you can touch, see, and feel. Those are things on your balance sheet as assets that you can actually see where they're at, right? And then you have your intangible resources. Those are things that are not so visible, but nonetheless very important to your business. That includes proprietary information, human resources, right? The skill you have with your leadership team. And lastly, we have capabilities. Those are integrated resources that you have developed into core competencies. So taking both tangible and intangible resources and developing those into core competencies, into things that you do better than your competitors, skills or strengths or proprietary systems that make you stand out and above, that differentiate you and add to your USP or unique service proposition. Okay, who has that in your business? Please let me know what strengths you have in your business, what capabilities in your brokerage that make you better and more competitive than the other brokerages in your local market. Go ahead and type into the chat bar. By the way, at the beginning, I mentioned Fortune 500 concepts. Some of these terms that we're using today might be a little new to you, and that's perfectly okay. These are used by Fortune 500 companies, and now you're in the big leagues with big corporations, and we're thinking in the big leagues too, right? Okay, next is our weaknesses. Well, we know those are the opposite of strengths, right? What are weaknesses? Those are resources and capability deficiencies that make it difficult for the firm to complete important tasks. Weaknesses are things that constrain the company, that keep you from moving forward. They inhibit you and keep you tied down and do not allow you to make the most profit possible. Weaknesses contribute to your competitive deficiencies. In other words, you have all these great strengths, but then on the other hand, you have the weaknesses. And the weaknesses might negate all those great strengths you have. An example of a weakness might be, say, for example, you have a lot of really great agents at your company, but then you have a couple of agents who are poisoning your culture with negativity, and so now your good agents are leaving, right? So that could be something that creates a deficiency in your company when your good agents are jumping ship because they're being poisoned by other bad agents at your company. And when I say bad, I don't mean necessarily poorly performing. I mean bad attitude and not in alignment with your culture and your values. Internal resources, the company does not do well or lacks. These are called weaknesses. Come to a screeching halt. That's what your weaknesses do. Here we see not necessarily a screeching halt, but we do see a rusty old car that's been abandoned for years. Compared to the race car we saw earlier with the strengths, this old jalopy will not take you where you're going. It will hold you back from accomplishing your mission. Even if you get it going, it might keep breaking down. And how are you going to make it to the finish line with this type of car, right? Pretty silly. So let's give some weaknesses examples. Now, if you have your sheet there, pull out your file, your SWOT examples that we gave out earlier, or you can download it. It's available for download now. Some examples of weaknesses are lack of expertise. For example, you don't have any product or service innovations. You're doing the same thing you've always done, and you haven't been innovative and staying in front of the market. Maybe you have a narrow product or service line. In other words, you only offer one service: real estate, residential, resale, sales transactions for residential. That's it. That would be one product line or service line. Maybe you have a lack of assets, equipment, or facilities. Your costs are high, your profit is low, and you don't have a lot of capital. Perhaps it's an issue with human capital. For example, a lot of agent turnover, or employees who aren't working and doing what you need them to do, or staff turnover. Maybe we talked about having the bad attitude or not being in line with your vision and your values. What about lack of cross-training and failing to delegate? Okay, so those are all examples of weaknesses. Intangible assets, such as no clear strategic direction. Everybody comes to work, but nobody knows really what the company's mission is or where you're going. Or maybe you're relying on a small group of suppliers. For example, you're relying on only one source for leads, and that source jacks up their price, or they go out of business, or they start selling to your competitors. What about internal and organizational assets? That would be an example of not having systems in place that are standard and automated, not good customer service and follow-up. So these are examples of weakness, and what you should be doing right now on your sheet is making notes of your company and circling those areas that your company is weak in and writing them out. Now, you don't have to fix it just yet. We'll get to that in a minute, but just identifying where your company is weak is the best way to start. All right, now we get to talk about opportunities. This is the fun part. Opportunities are external conditions that allow the company to achieve its vision using core competencies. So the core competencies are those strengths that we have. Those strengths lined up with an opportunity in the market, now you can capitalize on that opportunity. How many times have we had an opportunity come to us and we said, oh my gosh, that's a great opportunity. I want to grab it. I want to be able to incorporate that in my business, but we weren't ready. And therefore, the opportunity just passed by because we weren't ready. We didn't have the skills or the strengths or the resources, or we weren't in a position to capitalize on it. One example might be the distress market that we had, 10 years ago or so. Those of us who have been ready, who had REO accounts lined up, we had short sale procedures in place, we were ready when the market changed. But most brokers weren't. Most brokerage companies saw the opportunities and didn't value them, or weren't ready, or weren't in place. And when the market changed, all of a sudden they stopped doing business. They weren't prepared for that shift, and they weren't able to capitalize on that opportunity because they didn't take the time to put their REO business in place and their short sale business in place, right? So that's just an example. An opportunity for one business might be non-existent for another. So even in the same industry, an opportunity for one brokerage might not be available for another one. In order to capitalize on those opportunities, again, your internal resources must be present, and that's why we start with the strengths and building up the strengths. Or you might not be able to take advantage of the opportunity because of a weakness, and that's why we do the weaknesses second, because we want to know what those weaknesses are and how we can neutralize them so they don't inhibit our company from moving forward. It's time to step on the gas. Vroom, vroom. Right, here we have the Indy 500, all these cars going around. Which one is you? I hope you are in the lead, my friend, and all of your competitors are following you. But regardless of where you are, if you don't step on the gas and get going, you'll be left behind at the starting line. And not only do you have to jump out there and jump ahead of your competitors, you also have to constantly stay ahead of them. Remember, your competitors are constantly innovating. They're always adding to their business, and we need to do the same. We can't get left behind in the dust. Examples of opportunities are expanding your business geographically or globally with existing products or services. I think it's important to look at the real estate market and the opportunities that are available there, because a lot of us are very, very focused on our local market, which is good, as we should be, because real estate is local. Yes, that's true. But as we look at now the global expansion of real estate opportunities, we realize you don't have to stay located in one area. You can have an office or a virtual office or an affiliate partner in another area, including another country. And if you look at where customers are coming from, where are your buyers coming from, many buyers are coming globally. So it is important to diversify your products or services to be able to take advantage of these market opportunities that are in front of us. Another example is to add complementary products or services to your company. We talked about a weakness is just staying in one single lane with one product or one service, and you definitely need to expand and have a wide base. Now, don't go crazy and add too much, but you need to have 3 or 4 lines of business. Another way is to expand or enhance your vertical supply chain, which is, as I said before, going up the chain or down the chain to what your customers do before they come to you or after they come to you. And a quick and easy example is mortgage lending, right? Another one is property management, because you're keeping those investors in-house instead of sending them off to another company. What about expanding your targeted customer base? What about purchasing a competitor, a merger, developing strategic alliances with other companies? What about purchase of an unrelated company to diversify your product or service offerings, right? Instead of just real estate, now we have a tax prep business or financial consulting business. Another opportunity is discovering underserved markets and satisfying the needs of that market. Another one is our communication methods and media. And lastly, hiring talented employees to enter new markets and or offer new products or services. Now, I'd like us to take us a moment, step back, and think about, look at these opportunities. Actually, these are all on your sheet. If you can download the SWOT examples and take a look at it, these are all on there. But I want you to start looking at some really big corporations that have entered the real estate space with millions, maybe $1 billion ready to grow their company. They have done a lot of these things that we are just looking at. They have been able to take advantage of these market opportunities because they've had, number one, the capital backing them up, and number two, they have the mindset, the vision that our little company is not just going to be our little mom and pop shop, with our 3 agents, and when we retire, poof, it's gone. They have a bigger vision, and they are able to take advantage of these opportunities because, again, number one, they have the capital, the resources, the money backing them up and funding available. And number two, they have a bigger vision, and they have brought people in who share that vision, and they have a leadership team to execute. Well, if they do it, you can too. We might be independent brokerages or we might be smaller brokerages, but we can also take advantage of those same market opportunities. We don't have to let them pass us by. We can be ready. Now, lastly, we're going to talk about threats. Threats are external environmental factors that hold the company back from leveraging its core competencies. Now, remember, all businesses have some type of threats because threats are from the marketplace. They're not things we can control. So our goal is identify the threat and then neutralize it so it doesn't hurt our company. Threats can hinder a company's profitability and competitive edge. We have little to no control over these, as I said. And remember that you might identify a threat, you might neutralize it, the threat passes you by, you're thinking, whew, but then a new threat emerges, right? One of the threats I can think of that I know the National Association of Realtors has fought against, not recently, but in previous years, was against banks that wanted to have all of their employees become real estate agents. That was something that they kept trying to pass and get approved, and NAR, the realtors, would fight against that. And I think after the depression, I know some people call it a recession, I call it a depression, that started in 2007, that threat sort of subsided because the banks saw, wow, this is a whole different side that we didn't anticipate, and they actually were involved in the real estate transactions. And I think now they realize more of what it takes. So that threat may have gone away for many of us brokerage owners, but guess what? New threats have come out of that, right? So know in advance what action will be taken that you will take internally to minimize those negative effects if a threat materializes. So what that means is you're going to identify what those threats are in the marketplace, who your competitors are, and how you can neutralize that. And even if it hasn't appeared yet, it's something you anticipate and you're ready for when it does appear, when it does actually materialize, that you have a plan. You have a strategy so you can keep moving forward and being profitable. When you see a threat, it's time to slam on the brakes. Otherwise, you may hit something you don't want to, and your car might start on fire, right? So examples, quickly, some examples of threats are new competition. Haven't we seen that in the real estate market? There are some huge companies around today that didn't even exist 10 years ago. And now that's all we hear about in our real estate threads and our forums and our social media with other agents, is these new competitors that we think are going to put us out of business. What about new technology? Well, technology could be an opportunity or it could be a threat. Depends on how you use it. New technology that replaces real estate agents, that could be a threat. If it does exist, I'm not sure it does. We hear a lot about it. But anyway, what about existing competition with less expensive products or superior products? What about competition that's cheaper or better technology? What about competitors introducing new improved products or services? What about new taxes or business regulations? These are all threats that are beyond the scope of our control. We can't stop them from happening, and we can't fix them. The most we can do is have a strategy or a plan in place to be able to react. A fragmented market, trends and changing needs of customers, their purchasing patterns, that is real. That is real in today's market when we're completely focused on home ownership and more people are now renting instead of owning homes. What about the increase in interest rates, operating costs for our business, a shift in customer or supplier base, right? That could happen very easily for our buyers. Say if there's a shift in mindset or a shift of geographic location of people moving out of the area and not moving in, or vice versa. Larger companies, competitors with greater financial resources duplicating your products or services. Can that happen? Yes. Will it happen? Absolutely. If you create something great, you can be prepared for somebody else to copy you. What about a tight credit market due to national and worldwide economy? Well, everybody seems like they're doing well now, but what about in the future? Bargaining power of major customers that reduces our profit. Who are our customers? Our number one customers are what? Real estate agents. Do they have bargaining power? Absolutely. Because guess what? There are many real estate brokerages for them to choose from. So does that reduce our profit as a brokerage of what we can charge agents? Yes, absolutely it does. What about the erosion of profit margin due to vendor pricing? Or if you're in certain parts of the country that are hit by natural disasters, what about weather-related problems, natural disasters? Excuse me, these are all things that we have no control over that threaten the existence and profitability of our business. All right, now it's time to apply the matrix. So I'm going to change our file sharing here. I'm going to pull back up Module 1 worksheet. So please let me know, type in the chat, let me know if you received Module 1 worksheet. And this is where you are going to go in and analyze your company, apply the matrix, and find out what your strengths, weaknesses are, and how you can strategize to become more profitable. Right? So the goal is utilize your core competencies, improve or outsource or delegate your weaknesses, calculate and capitalize opportunities, reduce or neutralize threats. Strengths. Rev it up. Strength in action. A strength for one business may be a weakness for another business. And we want to keep building on our strengths, because by accumulating strengths, that provides a competitive advantage for your business. The more strengths you add to your business, the greater its ability to continue growing and continue adding to more strengths. Right? You know the saying, success breeds success. And when you start to get more strength, you have a synergy, a synergistic effect, and it makes your business valuable. Now remember, your competitors, once they see you're successful, will try to imitate your strengths. So you have to always be out there in front, continually being aggressive, improving and adding to your strengths. Go ahead and write your strategy for your strengths in the little workbook that you have there. Weaknesses. Wah, wah. This is a not so fun part because we don't like looking in the mirror. But your competitive disadvantages will increase as the number and magnitude of your weaknesses increase. There's a correlation there, right? Your weaknesses put your company at a disadvantage, and it can magnify its lack of competitiveness, making the business lose its edge. Now, what are your weaknesses? What do you think they are? What do your customers or potential customers think they are? Because in the end, it's all about what they think. Perception is reality in the marketplace. The longer your weaknesses, your deficiencies exist, the greater competitive disadvantage it puts you at, right? So it's like you're in the race and your oil light kicks on that you need oil, and the car starts going slower and you start losing your competitive edge. You kind of get to the middle of the crowd, and then all of a sudden, maybe something else comes on your dashboard telling you have another problem in your car, and now your car is lagging even more, allowing more competitors to get in front of you. So any weaknesses that you're aware of must be corrected as soon as possible. Now, which do you work on first? That's a great question. So those weaknesses that contribute the most to your competitive disadvantage have to have priority. You got to work on those first. Now, opportunities. It's a sunny day, driving down the street. The great thing about opportunities is that very few of your competitors will be capitalizing on those. If every opportunity was capitalized on by every new business, there would be no opportunities because everybody would already capitalize on it. But that opportunity exists because you're doing something the competition is not doing. So how do you take advantage of those, leverage those opportunities available in the market? Now, what about threats? You got thunder and lightning. For our action or response to threats is that we must foresee these threatening elements. We have to know in advance what course of action to take as soon as a threat is clearly identified. And that goes back to step 1, being prepared and having your strategy. Okay. Hi, Shukita. She says yes to one of our questions we asked earlier. So again, MBA broker consultants, we offer private company consultations. We can help you lay out recommendations and a plan of action to keep you competitive, moving forward, and more importantly, driving profitability in your brokerage business. So take action now. What are your action steps? Look at the document, the file that you have right now called Module 1 Worksheet. And on there, I'm just going to pull mine up real quick here. On there, you'll see strengths, opportunities, weakness, and threats. And for each one, please identify 3 of each and write 3 recommendations. And that is what will help you get from point A to point B, which is being behind the 8 ball or at the back of the pack and moving forward. Oh, there it is right there. Okay, all I had to do was keep going forward. Okay, there it is. And there's what your little worksheet looks like. Okay. So again, our responses to strength: utilize, leverage those core competencies. On weaknesses, we want to either improve them or we want to outsource or delegate. For opportunities, we want to calculate our return, prepare a strategic plan of action, and capitalize on those opportunities. And what about threats? We want to reduce those or neutralize them because we can't change them. We have to deal with them. Now, there is a 5th item that some people add to SWOT. It's called trends. Trends are things happening in the marketplace, especially with technology. And those need to be examined to see how we can capitalize on those or how they might harm our business as a threat. Once again, let's review your core competencies. This is a Fortune 500 concept that we talked about at the beginning. What are core competencies? They're capabilities the firm emphasizes and performs especially well in pursuing its vision. And that reference is from the book called Understanding Business Strategy by Ireland, Hoskisson, and Hitt. What we want to do is discover our strengths, resources, and capabilities, use that to create customer value and a competitive advantage, and then leverage it better than competitors. Make our competitive competencies distinctive, unique, and different. It's time to accelerate and push that needle. So today's recap: SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, competitive advantages, disadvantages, and how you can use each to fuel your business, to step on the gas, and to keep moving forward. Any questions today? Please let me know if you have any questions. Just go ahead and type them into the chat bar there, or you can reach out to me later, email, phone, Facebook message, whatever. I'm here for you. Thank you so much for joining us here today at MBA Broker Consultants. Remember to tune in next time. Our topic, again, driving profits, will be operational management. We're going to take a deep dive into all those things behind the scenes that help our business operate like clockwork, and implementing systems and putting those procedures in place to make sure that our transactions are seamless and our profit continues to flow in. Again, we will be using the principles from the Association of Accredited Small Business Consultants in Drive Profits to the Max, Accelerate Your Brokerage, and Push the Needle. That's all I have for you here today. Thank you, brokers, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed today's session. Please let me know if you have any questions. We're here for you. We'll be happy to help you at any time with your SWOT. Sometimes it does take somebody stepping outside of your business to be able to look in, right? Because we know that it's hard for us to look in the mirror. We're so close to our business. We're emotionally connected to it. And sometimes we as humans don't like to admit that we have weaknesses and failures and what they are, more or less write them out. So we're here for you. Just let me know if you need some help writing out your SWOT. Thanks, everybody. Shakita says thank you. You're welcome. Bye. Have a great week and a wealthy winning Wednesday today. Woohoo!